Hello everyone, my name is Rosalind Zacharias. I am the Employment Specialist here at the Steps to Success program. I'm back again today with another workshop. Today's workshop is going to be about how to work from home effectively. As always, I'm going to start by giving you guys our contact information. You can find us at www.lssjax.org. Here's our location information, and if you have any questions about our program, if you are interested in joining our program, you can call 904-730-8256. And as always, if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, please leave them in the comments below, or you can always private message us, and we'll make sure to answer those questions within 24 hours. And please press like if you haven't already. So remote working. So the reason I wanted to give you guys this specific workshop is because of the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of jobs are being forced to go remote at this time, and the transition from working in person to working remote can be hard, and but a lot of the jobs are doing that at this moment. So with this workshop, I wanted to be able to give you guys some tips on how to be successful while working remotely. Now, a quick overview of what we're going to be going over today. We're going to start with getting in the right mindset while working remotely, what to do when you first get up. We're going to be talking about having a designated workspace, making sure when you're home you have a designated workspace to do to have your work day. We're going to talk about some common distractors while working at home and some things you can do to avoid them. We're going to talk about being productive while working at home, how to effectively communicate while working at home, and then we're going to end it with scheduling breaks and making sure you're taking those breaks that you need. Just to start off, we're going to be talking about getting in the right mindset. So our homes are typically where we relax. It's our comfort place. It's where we spend our downtime. But now it's also going to be the place where you do work. So we want to make sure that we're getting into the routine that sets you up for a work day and not a day of relaxing. So what this can look like is getting out of bed, making sure that if on a normal day of work you would be starting in the morning, continue to get up at that time. If your normal workday starts at 8, continue to get up at 8 and starting work. Make sure that your body is still used to getting up at that early time, getting your workday started, because that's what your body remembers. If you've been doing it for so long, that's what your body remembers. And for people going into new remote jobs, same thing. If the usual time is in the morning, make sure you're still waking up nice and early for that time. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the commute time. So usually with in-person jobs, you have a specific time to commute, the time that it takes for you to get to that specific job. Still take that commute time to kind of gather yourself, figure out what you're going to be doing for your day. Make sure you're using that time as you would have if you were still going in person. So take that 10, 15 minutes, up to 30 minutes, how long it would take for you to usually get to work, to have that time to gather yourself. And another big thing is getting dressed. So make sure we're not staying in our PJs, and that we're getting up and we're changing into a nice, comfortable, casual outfit, because you are going to be at home, but we want to make sure that your mindset isn't in, I'm going to sleep, I'm relaxing kind of mindset. So we're going to get out of our PJs, because what that can do is kind of set you up for, I'm going to continue sleeping and not going to actually work. So get up and change into a nice casual outfit. So next we're going to be talking about having a workspace. So we really want to be able to have that separation of work and home. And I know that's kind of hard when you're working and when you're home and your work are in the same place, but we really want to make sure we're at least not working where we're sleeping. So if it's possible, move your workspace away from your bedroom. If you have a desk in your room, maybe you can move it out into the living room. This really allows you to have that separation, to have that designated workspace. You never want to go to bed. What can happen when you don't have a designated workspace is that it can really give you that busy brain kind of situation where when you lay down to work, you're still thinking of, what do I have to do next? What is due? What's my deadline? What didn't I do? And you kind of have that anxiety built up of thinking you have something due or something to turn in. So having that separation of that workspace separated can really help with that. and making sure that you dedicate time for work. So make sure you're having a time to clock in and clock out. Still have that clock in, clock out mentality. I'm clocked in, I'm working for a specific time, and when you're finished, make sure you're finished. We don't want you guys working past the time you usually would. Dedicate a specific time, and then once it's done, it's done. Next, we're going to be talking about some common distractors and how to avoid them. So some common distractors while working at home are going to include things like social media and cell phones. So we all love social media. We have it on our phones, on our computers. We all partake in social media. But while you're working at home, it really can become a big distractor. So some things that you can do for this is to turn off notifications. And it doesn't mean to turn it off forever. Just for during your work time, turn them off, snooze them, put them on Do Not Disturb for a little while, just to get your work done so that doesn't become a distraction. You don't need to know who tweeted what and what video got uploaded where. So just make sure you're taking that time to do work by itself, and then maybe during your break you can partake in the social media. And with cell phones, we also get our notifications to our cell phones, so turning off those notifications on our phones and maybe placing it out of reach. So make it that extra step. So if you put it across the room and you're working in a different side of the room, in order for you to get to that phone, you'd have to take that extra step to get up and go to the phone. So that can kind of deter you from wanting to use it. So that's just a quick tip for that there. So something else that can be a distractor could be pets and family members. This is bound to happen, especially if you have pets, if you're not living by yourself. And something important to do with this is to make sure you're establishing rules, especially with your family members. Make sure that they have an understanding that you're going to be working during a specific time. If you have kids, hopefully you have some help. You can have somebody maybe watch your kids or having another family member watch your kids. But we're all bound to have some distractions, and distractions like this are kind of hard to avoid. But establishing the rules, some rules, and some boundaries, like let me work for this amount of time and then we can spend some time together, that can really help. And lastly, the last distraction I'm going to be talking about is household tasks, because when we're living at home, we're kind of living in a place where the tasks that need to be done, the household chores are kind of in your face. And something to help with that is kind of taking on the out of sight, out of mind mentality, where if it's not staring you directly in the face, maybe you won't think about it as much. So something you can do with this, like for example, if you have a pile of laundry. So instead of having the pile of laundry on the floor, you can pick up the pile of laundry, put it in the laundry room, or put it in a closet, kind of get it out of your direct eyesight, and then you won't be thinking about like, oh man, my laundry needs to be done. I'm staring right at my dirty laundry, it needs to be done. So that can be really helpful, is to kind of get it out of your immediate eyesight. Next, we're going to be talking about staying productive. So motivation while working in person can really be driven by your colleagues and management. And the reason for this is because you don't know when anyone's going to come by and look at what you're doing on your computer, or look what you're doing and ask you what you're doing at any given moment. When you're working at home, you don't have that. You don't have those team members and the possibility of team members and management coming up behind you and seeing what you're doing on the computer. So something that you can do to stay productive is to set goals. So figure out what you need to do, what you need to get done on that specific day, and you can do this by making a list of tasks to do, and then just prioritize them, what needs to be done immediately, and what can be kind of held off until later. And with that, making sure that we're staying accountable, keeping ourselves accountable for the things that we said we're going to do. If we set a specific goal, make sure we're reaching that goal. Next, we're going to be talking about communicating and how to effectively communicate with your team and your management. And it's really important while working remote. It's important to have that open communication and be able to have contact with your team and your management, especially if the remote job is brand new or they transitioned it from being an in-person job to a remote job. There's going to be a lot of things that aren't figured out yet. So being able to have that open line of communication to kind of figure out the kinks of the job and kind of figuring out how everything works, it's bound to happen, and it's good to have that communication open. So I wanted to give you guys some collaboration tools that you can embrace and use within your team. You can use Slack, so that this is kind of like a group messaging situation that companies use. And you can create channels for different groups. If there's different projects or different groups going on, you can separate that and speak to specific people. You can also have Microsoft Teams, and that allows you to do the same thing, kind of have a contacts of people that you can communicate with and chat with. And obviously for some video chatting or video meetings, virtual meetings, you can use Zoom and Skype, and they also have chat features on there. Now, I did want to mention our virtual meetings, because a lot of the times with remote work, you're going to have those virtual meetings because you can no longer have face-to-face meetings, especially during this time with COVID. So with virtual meetings, some tips that I have for you guys is to make sure that you're enabling your camera for you and for the people involved in the meeting. So what this does, when you're able to see people's faces and when they're able to see your face, is they're able to read those nonverbal cues that you would get if you were in a face-to-face meeting. And what that ends up doing is allowing you guys to be more productive anyway, because you're able to get all the information possible out of the conversation, because you're able to read those nonverbal cues. So that's the biggest tip I can give you for that, for virtual meetings, is to make sure that everyone's cameras are being used. And lastly, we're going to be talking about scheduling breaks. So we want to make sure when we're working at home, we're still giving ourselves breaks. So make sure we're setting alarms to have scheduled breaks, especially if you're working long hours. Make sure that you're giving yourself that break time, and this will help to avoid getting burnt out, because that does happen if you're getting into a groove of something and you keep working, you eventually get really tired, end up getting burnt out. Is definitely a possibility to get burnt out. And at home, it's really easy to get cooped up while being in your house, so taking those breaks, allowing yourself to have a break, to maybe go outside, is really important. And I wanted to give you guys a couple of break suggestions. One of them I already mentioned: going outside, get some fresh air, absorb some vitamin D from the sun, take a little walk. It doesn't have to be a long walk, because remember, it is a little break, but you can always go down, get the mail, or something like that. Just something that gets you out and kind of gets your blood pumping. You're not just sitting in the same spot for a long period of time. Or you can put on a quick exercise video. Something that happens when you work remotely is that the inevitable happens. We gain weight, and it's a really big possibility that we gain weight. So we want to make sure that we are giving ourselves opportunities to be physically and mentally healthy. Take that break to do a couple of quick squats or some leg lifts, something to get the blood pumping. Because again, we want to make sure that we're remaining physically and mentally healthy while working at home. We do miss an aspect of that face-to-face communication, so it's still really important to stay communicating with your team, being able to do that exercise if you can, and take those breaks when you need. So that is the end of my workshop today. If you guys have any questions, again, please make sure that you're commenting them down below, or you can also private message us, and we'll make sure that we're answering those within 24 hours. Again, our information is listed here for you guys. You can find us at www.lssjacks.org. And if you're interested in our program and interested in, or if you have any questions about our program, you can call us at 904-730-8256. All right, thank you guys so much.